Hey, everybody, Mark Herman, aka LA Bengals fan. And I want to, obviously, we're already dressed up for the occasion. We want to wish everybody a Merry Christmas. We're doing the show a little early with Christmas Eve being tomorrow night. And we are here to preview our road game against Houston coming off the big Monday nighter. So,
ho, 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 hoo-day.
Ho, ho. Here we go. Ho, ho, Houston. So before we even get into what we're feeling good about, what we're not feeling good about, I want to address something that was in the comment section after our recap from a Taz864. And he challenged, saying it was shocking that I was rooting for the Browns. And he actually questioned whether or not I was a Bengals fan. Now, I've been a Bengals fan since the team came out in '68. Picked him at 5 years old, so now you know how old I am, collecting football cards.
Yourself, Mark.
Collecting football cards. But, I don't think the division title is something that somebody has to win. I wasn't pulling for the Browns to get the wild card or anything. I said, somebody's got to win the division. I'd rather have it be Cleveland. We have a common, the last 20 years, both of these teams have struggled. I mean, there's a common foundation there. And our origins, the team's named after our owner, right? I mean, it's Paul Brown. That's why they're called the Browns. So there's a shared history. The fact that they're both in Ohio, between Pittsburgh, Baltimore, and Cleveland, I would rather see Cleveland win the division. That doesn't change that I'm not a diehard Bengal fan. So that's my response to Taz864.
Right. I think and if anybody else reads the comments, they'll see that I went back and forth with Senior Taz for quite a bit. But yeah, I echo your sentiment because I don't like the Browns. I dislike the Browns. I like the fact that the Browns are bad because then even when we're bad, there's somebody else that's bad.
Right.
But would I ever in a million years root for Pittsburgh to win the division over Cleveland? No.
And I wouldn't root for Baltimore either.
Sure. So right now, sure, go Browns, win the division. Screw the Steelers.
No, like I said, and I got to tell you, of the fan bases, being the Browns have had, a tough go of it in the last 30 years. We don't have any of the issues. The Browns fans are a very complimentary group. They will commend us when we have a good game, and they will take it on the chin and accept when they play poorly. So in terms of fan bases, we used to film the other show that we were both on. We filmed at Rocco Sports Bar for a while, and the bouncers and the bartenders told me that the two teams that have the worst fans, the worst behaving fans, the ones that they continually throw out more than any other fan bases are, guess the two fan bases.
I'm going to say Steelers and Cowboys.
Does exactly it. And we didn't even tell you that. Steelers and Cowboys, they throw out more fans from those two fan bases because they're jackasses. So just, it's so rooting for the Browns doesn't change my commitment to this franchise. So
well, our buddy Taz, I'm sure he's gonna check back in to see this video. And you know what? He's gonna love the fact that we're talking about him.
Yeah, I probably is. So
here you go, Taz. This is your 5 minutes in the sun, baby.
There you go.
5 minutes in the sun after you got your ass whooped on Monday night, baby.
So here we go. So as usual, we're going to address the things that we feel good about and things we don't feel good about. And not feeling good about it. Obviously, number one is a short week. That bothers me. Excuse me. And despite winning Monday, I want to point out that I'm still very troubled about our offense because we only had 230 yards of offense Monday night. So it's that bothers me. And then we just talked a little bit before we started recording about our draft position. There is significant implications if we win this week on our draft position, and we're going to go through that. And then the last thing I have, and I truly mean this, I said in the recap video that I couldn't believe I was going to say this, and I commended Zach for his game plan and his scheming for this week. But I want to remind everybody, this is only the second time in nearly 2 full seasons that we've seen that about from this coaching staff, that this staff actually looked like they knew what they were doing. Tennessee and this game, that's it. So I still don't believe in Zach unless he can show me in Houston, show me in Baltimore, and carry it forward. But I still don't see him as a viable head coach. So I still have serious issues. But I didn't want to say anything Monday because I didn't want to detract from Monday. Monday was an amazing game. He did have a good scheme and it executed. But just bear in mind, 230 yards of offense. So I said I said it in the last one that I bet the two Finley propositions, and that was under 17 and a half yard completions and under 184 yards. Finley on the game was 7 of 13 for 89 yards. I won both of those bets, even though we won the game, because there was no offense. You're not going to win many games with that stat line. So that's what I'm not feeling good about.
I'll respond a little bit and let you clear your throat there, Mark. The first comment I have is, it's early in the week and the injury report just came out. Zach has already said that Brandon Allen will start at quarterback if he is healthy enough, and he went limited today.
Right.
And I think that does a lot for the offense. None of us thought that Ryan Finley was going to come out and set the world on fire. I mean, I know 230 yards of total offense sucks. I can't remember what Pittsburgh had, but it wasn't a whole lot better.
Right.
To be completely honest.
But we had, think about the game. That game, there was 15 possessions in the first half by both teams. That, I mean, like 5 there was an amazing amount of 3 and outs going on in that game.
Yeah, well, and I mean, I think what Pittsburgh started with 4 3 and outs just to begin.
5. I think it was a record. Yeah, it was a bunch of records that got set, not records Steelers aren't proud of, that got set for them in the first half of that game.
Right, and like you said, we're going to address the draft pick. What was the other thing that you mentioned after that?
The coaches and us being on a short week.
Oh, the coaching. Yeah, I again, as usual, we're going to do a whole show about this, and I don't want to get too far into it. The only reason I challenge it's only the second time in that we've come out. Did you say 2 years or this?
Yeah, I counted last year and this year.
Okay,
because I left the game
against Seattle, his first game, we came out with a great game plan.
Yeah, you know what?
We had and we won a couple games last year. It's not like we won them with shitty game plans. So I mean, your bias is showing, Mark. Your bias is showing, I know you don't like him, but come on, dude.
I don't. You're right. Seattle, we did have a chance to win that opening game. We really did. But
we had a chance to win the opening game this year, and we had a chance to beat the Browns twice this year, and we beat the Browns last year.
The Browns game looked closer. The week 2 Browns game looked closer than it did in the stats. We really were behind big. We got a lot of junk points that made the score look closer. That game was. I don't think that was a winnable game. When I look back at games we could have won, and I do have week 1 as one of them, the Browns game in week 2 is not one of those games. So.
Well, I understand that.
But you got it. No. Your points are valid, and that's why we do this show. It's not. We're not here to agree on everything.
I'll take this opportunity just to throw in there that, I first of all, I don't think Zach Taylor was ever going to lose his job after this season. I don't think that was going to happen. He sure as hell isn't going to lose it now.
No, this
Monday Night Football. So everybody that's just still saying Zach Taylor's got to go. I understand what you're saying. I know where you're coming from. I get it. All of you. I get it. And I know I've been a big defender. I'm not a full-blown defender, though. I see the problems.
Right.
But he's not going anywhere. So you might as well just get used to it.
But you go to Facebook and you go on different platforms and you look, and these guys are saying, what do you think of Lou Anarumo now? Well, yeah, okay. Your defense played well this week. Show me Houston. Show me Buffalo.
Just because the defense played great,
inspired ball, yeah,
and they got pumped up because it was Pittsburgh. It's not all sunshine and unicorn farts now.
No, rainbows and unicorns. It ain't.
It's still a little bit of an issue. And we'll have to deal with that this week, because obviously we always have a problem with running quarterbacks, and that's something I don't feel good about. Deshaun Watson has played well in his last, I've got it down here, in his last 5 games, 73% completion, almost 1,600 yards. So that's well over 300 yards a game,
Right.
9 touchdowns, 1 interception. Here's the only thing about Watson, though. He's only got 6 picks on the season, but he's got 6 fumbles. And in those last 5 games I just mentioned, that's 3 of them right there. So, he carries the ball a little haphazardly.
Right.
And I think, if you can get Lawson or Hubbard as the guy that's chasing him around the edge, even if he thinks he's got him beat, I think we got a chance to knock out a couple of balls. And of course, you got Mackenzie Alexander coming downhill. He'll be looking for it too. The other thing is, Houston's given up 44 sacks this year.
Yeah.
You think we've given up a lot of sacks? We've given up 48. Houston's given up 44. So as much as you feel like our guys are being put on their butt, Houston has done it too. So, after a great game from Lawson and Hubbard on the edges, I think we have a real opportunity to capitalize on that. But we never do well against running quarterbacks. You know that. I know, Mark, you're never a fan of the bounce back game, and Houston's lost 3 in a row.
No, and we're set up. Usually what happens with these games is the winning team from the previous week has an emotional letdown. And I think that's kind of where we're not going to have the same energy level we had. It was a Monday night national TV, and it was home for the Steelers. Now we're on the road on a typical Sunday on a short week. It's going to be a different situation. So I'm afraid of the emotional letdown as well. So
yeah, I agree completely. And I think, the other thing I'm not feeling good about is we're playing a Watt again for the 2nd week in a row.
Yeah. And
we damn well better not put a tight end on him.
Yeah. If you think Drew Sample is going to stop the other Watt from getting through.
And JJ has killed us his whole career.
Right.
He's killed every time.
Oh.
It seems like we play Houston every year. It really does. And JJ Watt just destroys us every time. And I'll tell you what, I'll feel a little bit better if Brandon Allen is back there. Because if Ryan Finley's back there, and I know we said this last week, we expected Ryan Finley to get killed, and he did a great job. TJ Watt is not JJ Watt. JJ Watt will see Ryan Finley and just lick his chops.
Yeah.
He will chase him down anywhere he can.
I will never forget, the 5 straight years Dalton took us to the playoffs. The first year we were in Houston, right before half, we're moving the ball, and Watt intercepts it and returns it for a touchdown, and it changed the whole game.
You thought he was
came out in the locker room completely deflated. The next year we got Houston, I said, okay, I was really happy we got Houston in the playoffs. It was in Houston again, but I said, this is our chance of redemption. That game was lost by Andy Dalton. I mean, he got a pick 6 by Leon Hall, and our defense played extremely well and kept them down to like 16 points or something. Andy Dalton, Ron Jaworski broke down the film and showed how late he was. Throw the ball a second earlier to AJ. Here's a touchdown. Here's another touchdown. Here's another touchdown. That second one was lost by Andy Dalton. So
yeah. So I'm worried about Watt. Watson, like I said, is not. Basically he's got 27 touchdowns to 12 turnovers. It's only 6 interceptions, but he's got 6 fumbles. But he hasn't thrown a pick since I think week 5.
Right.
One interception since week 5. I think we got a chance to capitalize on that because they've got so many guys out. They've still got Cooks and Kuti. But
well, we're fortunate we're not facing Fuller because his numbers have really tapered back since Fuller was put, on the suspension list for
and just
performance enhancing drug.
But then he picked up in the last 5. But I think part of that is because he was trailing in a lot of those games. I mean, last week when he played Indianapolis, he had almost 400 yards passing and a pair of touchdowns, but it was because they were dragging.
They got so far behind. They got close to making a game, but
yeah. So. And the only other thing I worry about is I'm actually, David Johnson is not a bad running back. He gets a bad rap. And but I feel like our defensive line has played well against the run, especially the linebackers coming up in the holes too. We talked about Josh Bynes in
Right.
our recap after Pittsburgh, and Logan Wilson. I'm not optimistic he's going to
I
play
don't know what they're going to
because
do.
he still hasn't practiced yet with his ankle injury. But David Johnson last week, he caught all 11 of his targets for 105 yards. And
That's
if
a
you
lot of
remember,
targets for a running back.
exactly, and part of that is because Duke Johnson is out with a neck injury, and he
Right.
probably will be again this week. But if you remember, even when David was in Arizona, when he was still healthy, Arizona had the same problem. Their wide receivers all started getting injured, and they started lining up David Johnson at wideout, like even with another back in the backfield,
Right.
because he's that talented a player. So, don't overlook that. We can't afford to have David Johnson go in motion and have, Josh Bynes or Akeem Davis Gaither trying to cover him out of the backfield. He's going to murder a linebacker. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, we've talked about how we struggle with those Eckler type of running backs that are good out of the backfield. And David Johnson's only getting flack because they lost DeAndre Hopkins to get him. And he's looked
Right.
so amazing with Kyler Murray that Houston's looking and saying, oh my gosh, what a terrible trade that was. But
Right. And
the trade was, it cost
he's
Bill
had
O'Brien his job pretty much.
and
I
he
mean,
and
that trade.
he's had injury issues. He had him in Arizona. He's had him this year. He's missed a lot of games this year, but when he's healthy, and he seems to be healthy right now, he's a solid back. And people think he's old. He's not old.
Right. So on the good, I just talk about, we're coming off a huge win, but that could be a double-edged sword. I've said already that you have an emotional letdown coming in. So I'm really curious to see what we do coming into this game. Let's talk a little bit before we do our predictions. Let's talk a little bit about the implications of winning this game. And this is another thing. I'm not saying that we should tank because this team does need to learn how to win, but what I didn't expect to win Pittsburgh. So I thought, hey, we win this game, we still stay at 3. That's not the case anymore, gang. We have other teams are at four wins, and you've got Atlanta at 4 wins, and we would be obviously at 4 wins with a tie. So we would jump behind. Like there's a chance we fall all the way back to 7 if we win this game.
Atlanta's going to lose both of their games.
Yeah, they've got Casey and Tampa Bay,
the Chiefs and at the Bucks.
Yeah, so they're probably going to be there at 4. Then you've got Carolina's playing Washington and New Orleans. So there's a good possibility that Carolina stays with only 4 wins. And then you have Houston, where that's why this is such a big game. We would tie Houston with 4 wins, but we have that tie. So we would fall back. And then Houston has Tennessee in the final week.
Right. And they're probably going to that game.
So if they lose, if we win this game, there's a really good possibility that we could fall back as many as 4 draft places. Because then you also have Philadelphia, who has that same tie with us, but they have Dallas and Washington. So we'd have to have them beat Dallas, and then maybe they pull out Washington. Like I said, we win this game, we're for sure probably falling back to 4, and it could be all the way back to 7. And there's fans, when the Jets won over the weekend, the Bengal fan base's biggest thing was we're not going to get Penny now because the Jets are going to keep Darnold. They're not going to go quarterback. Trevor Lawrence goes to Jacksonville. They're going to take Sewell. That was the big underlying feeling. So, but certainly sitting at 7, we were never even going to smell Sewell. So,
right. Well, I mean, I think we're lucky that this is actually a really deep offensive line class, and not just deep as in volume, not even deep as in terms of the number of guys that are coming out, but in terms of the number of quality guys. And of course, as Bengal fans, we know that not all offensive line guys can be predicted to do well. I mean, just look at Oboye and Fisher when they came out, and neither one of them panned out whatsoever. But there's a lot of talent on the offensive line. I'm just going to say the same thing that I said. I think I said it in the recap, or maybe I was just talking to you personally. Mm-hmm. In my opinion, listen, we're playing without Mixon right now. We're playing without Burrow right now. We have the core of this team, whether guys like AJ are gone or not. in my opinion, as a fan, a win is always better than a loss. I'm not counting draft position. I will be happy if we win. I don't care if we slip back. I'm not tanking. It's no fun. If you're rooting for a tank, it's no fun.
I'm not. And like I said, I'm just saying that there
And
are
no, I'm not
occasions.
saying you. I'm
Yeah,
not
but
saying
the
you.
fan
I'm
base,
just
yeah,
saying in
yeah,
general. In
right.
general, it's no fun to root for a tank. Root for a win, and then let's just deal with it when we
Right.
get to the draft and see
Well,
what pick we get.
I had a different feeling last year because it was Burrow. And that's why I understand the Jet fan base. I would have wanted to lose out and get Trevor Lawrence, and that just it wasn't. I felt I was in that position last year. I rooted really hard. I couldn't believe we went to overtime in Miami last year.
Right, right,
Because we win that game in overtime, and Burrow's a Dolphin. He's not a Bengal.
right,
So it's
right.
that simple. So
Yeah, and I understand that because that's, I mean, you're talking about the face of your
right.
franchise. You're talking about the talent. You're talking about the guy that you want to lead you to the promised land.
Right. No, but this year, I agree with you. We're 4, 5, 6, 7. We'll have to work with it. I do think that we need to stay. We're going to be in the top 7 picks. Looking at when we went through the standings, you and I did. We're going to be in the top 7 picks. Sure, I'd rather be 4, 5, or 6. People are going to. If you didn't get a chance to watch BYU yesterday, and I know there's a lot of Ohio State people, and they love Fields and all that, and I'm not that excited. I'm not sold on Fields. But if
I don't think Fields should even come out.
well, there was a comment in our comments about Fields should stay in another year.
I saw that. Yeah,
But
I saw
but
that. I saw that.
Zach Wilson is somebody that no one's talking about, and I think that's on purpose because I think there are probably a half a dozen teams that are looking at just like no one talked about Mahomes. Andy Reid never tipped his hand until he traded up and got Mahomes, that he was looking at Mahomes. So
Right.
it's the same thing here. I think there's the reason why no one's talking is I think there's a lot of teams just hoping that they're going to be able to jump up. I think Zach Wilson, when you look, he does not have the system around him that Fields has at Ohio State or the personnel. And when you look at what he did yesterday and what he's done all year, I think he's the guy that they're going to be jumping up for as the second quarterback off the board. I really do.
It's quite possible. And
No.
and we're going to have to besides, when we do, I mean, we might have to do a part 1 and part 2 of coaching. Hell, we might have to do a 5-part series of examining
We'll
each
do a
guy.
mini series.
Yeah. And but we also will need to really examine the draft once we know where we're falling and who we think might move up to what position and whatever. But as far as I'm concerned, as a fan, I want to win a game. I want to win. I want to win 2 games. I want to win. I want to win whatever I can. If we screw up and beat Baltimore, we're still picking in the top 10. I'm like, cool.
Like I said, looking at the numbers, I think 7 is our floor. I really do. So I don't see us falling back beyond 7. And
but I mean,
and the reason I was
as a fan, wouldn't it be great to beat Pittsburgh, Houston, and Baltimore to finish the season?
Oh yeah,
wouldn't that be amazing?
I might have a different tune if we scheme properly. And I see what we saw Monday night. If I see it against Houston and against Baltimore, then I'll say, hey,
Agreed.
Maybe he's turned a corner. Maybe the switch has been flipped. Maybe Anarumo has learned that we don't play soft zone and a prevent in the second half. So let's see. Like I said, don't tell me, show me. My point with Zach Wilson, though, was that even at 4 or 5, let's just say there's a team that does love Fields and they jump in at 3 or 4 and they make a trade with the Jets or whoever's there. Somebody will want to trade up. So even at 5 or 6 or 7, we could still wind up trading back and getting quality linemen, getting multiple picks on day 1 and 2. Because
I have no problem with us trading back. I just don't think the front office will do it.
So they're not that historically, and we'll go into this on our draft shows. They're not master manipulators. We are typically the team that we don't hide our hand. We don't play poker well. Teams know, like Ragnow. We wanted Ragnow. We didn't hide it at all. And Detroit knew that, and they jumped right over us, took Ragnow. We got Billy Price. So
well, never mind. I mean, we might as well just throw out there the fact that the Saints offered us their entire draft at one point, and we kept our pick so we could get Achilles Smith.
Yeah. So
like they offered us everything. They were like, take all of our picks. And we were like,
no,
nah,
we're going to take Achilles Smith.
Nah, we really want Achilles Smith.
Yeah, that's
future Hall of
If we
Famer.
only had that, Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure, we could go back to the time machine and straighten stuff out. Go in that phone booth that they used to travel, or hot tub time machine. Take any of the time machine movies. Take any of them. So, all right. With all that said, what's your prediction for the game?
Well, I want to throw in two goods that I had before I say it.
Okay.
One is Houston just put their right tackle, Titus Howard, on the injured reserve. So that means Carl Lawson, who's really pumped up from Monday night.
Right.
I'm liking the idea of him having a good game again.
Right.
And their secondary is banged up. They've got 3 guys that went limited today. They look like they might have a problem. I don't know if anybody knows this. Can you name the top 2 receivers in the AFC North?
The top 2 receivers in the AFC North,
as far as yards,
would be, okay, I'm trying to go through it. Certainly, there's no Raven on that list, because the wide receivers don't get ball. I have Marquise Brown. Believe me, he's a huge disappointment.
I got 5 in front of me.
I would go Claypool.
There's not a Raven to be found, and I'll go ahead.
Like I said,
I'll go ahead and tell you that. I'll go ahead and tell you that TikTok Schuster isn't on there either.
No, I would go Claypool, and then I would go Jarvis Landry. Would be the 2 I would go with.
Tyler Boyd.
Okay.
T. Higgins. Then Landry, Deontay, and Claypool.
Okay.
The only reason I bring it up is because if their secondary is that banged up, even with subpar quarterback play, you got Boyd and Higgins are both over 800 yards right now. They're doing work out there.
Right. But the bulk of that came with Burrow throwing them the ball, not Allen and not Finley.
I understand that, but speak to where the bulk of Landry and Deontay Johnson and Claypool came. They were all with their starting quarterback the whole time.
Right.
So,
but they also have more around them. You got Kareem Hunt taking receptions. You got Higgins taking receptions away. And for a period of time, you had Odell Beckham Jr. taking receptions away.
I'm just saying.
I point taken. So
with their secondary banged up, I like those guys. I like Lawson. With all that said, 26-14 Houston.
Yeah. And here's the thing. I'm really playing a lot on the emotional letdown. The short week.
I have it right under 26-14 Houston. I write letdown.
Yes. It's just human psyche. It's just typically what happens. You'll play a big rival, and then you'll go in the next week and just say what happened.
Yeah, so, and we're going on the road too.
Yeah, and a team that's lost 3, they're hungry. Romeo Crennel's a great coach, and the team's playing for Crennel. They really are. Crennel's going to be in the conversation, at least being looked at as possibly keeping the head coaching job there. So we'll see
alongside Marvin Lewis.
Yeah. So we'll see what happens. But I actually have a similar score. I had 27-13 Houston. Okay. So I agree with
26. I've got 26-14. That's with Ryan Finley under center.
Right.
If Brandon Allen plays, I'm going to give us 6 more points and say we'll keep it closer and make it like 26-20. The total in the game is 46, and Vegas is usually
they're really good on that. I know.
It's
scary how good they are.
Little surprised that Houston is favored by 8 points in this game. I thought it'd be a little less. I know they're getting 3 from being at home, so it's technically only 5. But Houston hasn't. I mean, they're 23rd in scoring offense, 24th in scoring defense. That's not good.
Yeah, but their pass rush is formidable. And
I agree
that it is.
That's about it.
And numbers wise, there's a couple of the defensive categories where Houston's in the top 10. So just on yards and points and stuff. So this is a decent defense.
Well, not points.
Well, if you read most of the fantasy stuff, their basic stand is that it doesn't matter whether it's Allen or Finley, that they're looking at the 230 yards offense, that you typically will not win games. Pittsburgh helped us. We had a very short field. You typically you can't go 7 of 13 for 89 yards and win football games. That just happened that week. We talked about the planets aligning, and who was it on ESPN that made a comment about?
Oh, it was during the game. He said it's almost like the planets aligned that the Bengals are leading the Steelers, and then when they came back from commercial, it was Steve Levy, or not Steve Levy, but anyway, they came back from commercial, and he's like, "Wow, it turns out actually, I just heard from the truck, Jupiter and Saturn actually are aligned right now. hence the Jets and the Bengals pulling off some abracadabra stuff on Sunday and Monday.
Yeah, and it was the first time since like the 12th century that happened.
since 1226 was, I think, the year.
There you go.
Was the last time that happened.
Okay.
So no wonder we beat Pittsburgh.
So, like I said,
I think that was the last time we beat Pittsburgh.
Yeah. So I'll look for it again in 3,200 and whatever, right? Or 2,800, 2,900, whatever we had. Yeah, 2,900. Let me do the math.
Hopefully next time it'll be Super Bowl week.
Yeah. So. But all right, well, there's the breakdown. So we will join you. We'll do our recap right after the game on Sunday and throw up a video. And we want everybody to have a very Merry Christmas. Be safe, be healthy, be smart. Don't go to big parties, mask, sanitize. It's still COVID. So let's be smart. Let's all have a Merry Christmas. I'm going to say hoo day, everybody.
Hoo day.
Take care, everybody. Merry Christmas.